Good morning and welcome to the third annual Maid Service Success Summit. I'm so excited to be here and so excited to share my talk with you today. So what do we have? We have the 6 pillars of a sustainable maid service. So a little bit about me. I'm Fran Cresswell-Ghose. I'm the founder of Get Offset, which makes it easy for ordinary people like you and me to make a difference in the climate crisis and have a positive impact on our environment. I'm also the head of marketing here at ZenMaid. Okay, and so what is sustainability? Sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So it's based on the simple principle that everything we need for our survival and our well-being depends either directly or indirectly on our natural environment. And this is, of course, ever more important in the face of climate change, which is becoming a bigger and bigger issue all the time. And why is it important for your maid service specifically? So it makes environmental sense. We need to maintain our natural resources in order to maintain our businesses. It's also good for the economy. And the more that the economy is boosted, the more potential clients that we have. It also elevates your brand. So sustainable practices are seen as part of a higher end product. And at the end of the day, because of that, it's good for your bottom line. Customers are willing to pay a premium. And we're not talking about way off in the future. This is happening right now. Climate change is accelerating faster than ever before. And we're seeing floods. We're seeing wildfires across the US and other parts of the world. And the Arctic ice is melting faster than ever before. But it's not just about the planet. How can sustainability benefit your maid service as well? And you'll be pleased to know that it can. And the good news is that this makes a difference from the customer perspective as well. So when you're able to show your values, you attract customers that align with your values and show your clients what really matters to you. This in turn creates a strong emotional bond with the client. What you're looking to create anyway in your maid service is really emotionally bonded customers. An emotionally bonded customer is not one who wants to leave your business. Even if things get difficult, if they're thinking of one service to cut, if they're really emotionally bonded to you, they're not going to want to drop your services. And that, at times like these, is a really, really important thing. The other great thing, of course, is a higher perceived value. Customers are shown to be willing to pay more for businesses that they know are giving back in ways that they align with. And there's data to back it up. So 77% of Americans are concerned about the environmental impact of products and services that they buy. And 3 in 5 people are willing to pay more for those sustainable products and services. So for your maid service, what that means is you're able to attract clients who are willing to pay that bit more for your sustainable services. If they know that you are aligned with those values, they are more likely to hold you in higher regard and pay more for those services. So the first pillar of your sustainable maid service is reducing and recycling. There are some really, really great ways that you can get started reducing the amount of waste that your maid service creates. The first really good one is to do a waste audit. So all you need to do is, over the period of a week or a month, you want to carry out a waste audit. So what that means is you're paying attention to what kind of rubbish your cleaning business is actually creating. And this will tell you what is the best item to tackle first. If you're throwing away lots of plastic bottles, maybe there's something that you can do to reduce the amount of, whether it's water bottles or maybe it's certain chemicals that you can get more concentrated forms of. Even if you don't want to do that, there's some really easy items that you can start to reduce to make a really big impact on your waste output. So the first one, of course, is water bottles. A lot of us get in the habit of using water bottles, just buying water in plastic bottles. And a really good thing to do is to invest in reusable water bottles for your team. This is also a really great opportunity to get branded water bottles with your logo on. It's great for company culture and it's really good for visibility. So if other people see that, and they will see your logo. Also, single-use items. So any items that are single-use, you've got wipes and towels. you can replace those with more permanent alternatives. Anything more permanent is more sustainable. So things like e-cloths are a much more sustainable alternative to single-use wipes. In terms of water use is also a really, really great thing to reduce. So trying to run dishwashers and washing machines only when they're actually full, wherever possible. Paper waste is another thing that a lot of businesses really struggle with. So a really good way to go about this is to ask yourself whether you really need to print items out. You can also switch to electronic copies of bank statements and work orders and forms to be signed wherever that's possible. And the great thing is that ZenMaid will allow you to automate a lot of these things so that you're able to, you don't need to print everything off for payroll. You can do it within the app. You don't need to print work orders off. You can do it within the app. You can do it by email. And so ZenMaid can really help you to save paper. We'll have an article on that coming soon. And the rest, well, this is really going to differ from cleaning business to cleaning business. So it's very much a personal thing, but you'll be able to tell from your waste audit and generally looking at what you're throwing out most, what items are causing you to create the most waste. Start there and see if you can find alternatives to those things that appear to be the most wasteful for your particular business. Just a quick note as well on recycling. I won't go too deep into this, but it's a really good idea to set up a recycling station in your office for paper and glass waste, so that anything that does go to waste is able to be recycled. It's also really important to responsibly recycle e-waste. So anything like computers, phones, and also cleaning and kitchen technology, to send those to the right suppliers to actually be able to recycle them effectively and safely. So you can find wherever your nearest best options for e-waste recycling are. You can go to www.ban.org/find-recyclers. Pillar 2 is consider your suppliers. So there are lots of ways as a cleaning business that just thinking about the suppliers that you go to for certain items in your business is really going to make a difference to how sustainable you are. So the first and most obvious thing is going to be cleaning supplies. They're obviously a great place to go more green and also mean that you can be more green in the client's home. This is a really good selling point to embed in your marketing. We don't use toxic chemicals. So there are some really great options for green cleaning products out there. Some people like to make their own, but some good brands are Better Life, Melaleuca, and Speed Cleaning. In terms of uniform, the most sustainable uniform is by far the most practical, comfortable, and durable. It's so important that if you're going to have your cleaners clean in uniform, that whatever they're wearing is really, really practical and just allows them to do their job to the best of their capabilities whilst also looking professional and well polished. So for bonus points in this area, avoid polyester and other plastic-based fibers for natural ones like cotton, which don't shed microfibers when you wash them. They're also much better if you're hot, cotton keeps you nice and cool, or if you're cold, cotton keeps in the warmth. So that's a really good option. In terms of transport, some of you may have company cars, some of you may not, but if you do, you might want to look at switching out for electric or hybrid vehicles. These are actually much more efficient and cost effective in the long run. So that's something really good to consider. If your employees do have their own cars, you can also look into ways to incentivize them to have more efficient vehicles. In terms of your office, there are also some things that you may want to consider if you do have an office for your business. So in terms of energy suppliers, you can look into switching out for a green energy provider. In the UK, this would be something like Bulb or Octopus. In the US, it's more of a case of looking for local options. So you might have to do a bit of research to find the best option near you. Office supplies, you can use recycled paper, reduce the use of your plastic files, and just generally looking for recycled, compostable, and recyclable products. And the last one is actually a bit of a wild card. So it turns out that a lot of the big banks are actually investing in unsustainable practices. So it's really good to consider switching to an ethical bank. In the USA, this will be something like Aspire, City First, and Amalgamated Bank. And in the UK, Triodos and Co-op are really good. So just in terms of finding the right suppliers for your Maid service, just a quick note, whenever it's possible, do try and buy local. Buying local helps keep the money in your local area and you support other businesses around you. And it also helps to reduce the carbon footprint of everything that you're buying because it doesn't need shipping to you. And at ZenMaid, we will be putting some information together for you on finding eco brands for your cleaning business. But for the moment, you can search for online guides to help you find suppliers with eco certifications. Okay, so pillar 3 is another really important one about going green in every client's home. Imagine the difference that you could make if your business services, say, 50 or 100 clients every single week, if you managed to be a little bit greener in every single person's home. Okay, and here are some ways that you can start going green in your client's home right now. So in terms of water use, it's really important to train your cleaners as part of their onboarding training on efficient use of water. If they know to switch off taps and what is the right amount of water to use for certain items, they're going to be much less wasteful. Also switching off taps in client's home whenever that is necessary. In terms of energy use, switching off any lights that they're done with using, open windows in warmer places and close them in cooler places as necessary, and checking with your clients what they would like to be turned on or off. In terms of waste, you can use reusable cloths instead of single use. You can buy bulk concentrated products for use in the client's home and just try and recycle waste wherever possible. And then there's some things that you can look to do in the future with your clients as well. So keeping an eye out for things that you can do to help your clients become more sustainable in the long term. So those things might include educating clients on saving water and energy in their home. It can be really good to have a handout or to have some information available on your website on how they can save money and save energy, save water, and make their home more sustainable. Another great thing that you can do if you notice that they're using standard light bulbs is offer to switch those out for LED or CFL light bulbs, which are much more energy efficient, last much, much longer, and will really bring down their energy costs. What you can also do for bonus points there is offer to sell and install the light bulbs for your client. Your cleaners will also be in their house regularly, so you'll be able to point out any leaky taps or any other inefficient items that they might want to look at replacing with an eye to being more sustainable. And pillar 4 is to get your team on board. It's so important if you're working with a team of cleaners and office staff to really get them involved with all of your sustainability efforts to really get the ball rolling in that respect. So there's a few different things that you can do. You can get your team motivated by creating incentives for them. You can run company fundraisers. You can solicit suggestions from your team on how to be more sustainable. Your team might have some really good ideas on things that you are overlooking. So it's really important to get them involved and get them really feeling on board with the goals there. So looking for any opportunities for your staff to share vehicles and carpool is a really, really great way to reduce emissions from transport. Another great thing that you can do is give your team rewards for meeting goals. This works really well if you reward the whole team for meeting green goals that you might have set together. And the last one very much depends on your business, but remote work when possible. So it's important to ask yourself, do your team need to be in the office as much as they are? Maybe you're having them start and end in the office when they don't necessarily need to come in before going to their first cleaning. Maybe you can hold remote meetings or remote training or have your office staff sometimes work from home. All of those things will really help to make the business more sustainable. And then we have going sustainable online. So this is something that a lot of people don't really think about, but your online presence can actually have quite a big footprint. Did you know 7 grams of CO2 is emitted by a single Google search? So with 4.5 billion internet users, you have billions and billions of searches a day. That adds up really fast. And most of that comes from the cost of cooling down servers, which are very, very hot from all that data transfer. Did you know that 2% of global emissions are generated just by web hosting? That's the same as the entire country of Canada. So thankfully, there are some really easy ways to go green online. One of the easiest things that you can do is declutter your saved files. If you're anything like most of us, you probably have a lot of files that you don't necessarily need anymore stored in places like Google Drive, Dropbox, your email, and you can just go through these files and declutter, and that will really reduce the amount of storage that you're using. That may even reduce the amount that you have to pay for storage, but it will certainly reduce the amount of server that is necessary to upkeep your saved files. The next thing that you can do is cut unnecessary email. So anything that you can do within your Maid service to remove those emails that don't necessarily need to be sent, things like using systems for schedules and work orders. This is where the ZenMaid mobile app comes in, and it really, really streamlines the process for you. Also, systems for hiring and training that don't mean a lot of email back and forth. We've got some really great content from Chris Schwab on how to automate your hiring process. And then another really easy thing is switching to audio calls. Choosing audio calls over video wherever possible reduces the bandwidth required to make the call. So it's a really easy way to make those calls more sustainable. Of course, there are going to be occasions where it's better to use video. For example, if you are doing a interview call with someone, it's really good to see them face to face and to really get a good idea for them over video call. But a lot of your calls, you could probably find that they would work really well as audio instead of video. So another thing that you can do to go green online is to speed up your website. And there are different ways to go about this depending where your website is built, but particularly if you've built it or someone has built it for you on WordPress, there are some really great plugins that you can use to speed up your site really, really quickly. And yes, it's great to have a fast website, but what's even better is that that will boost the SEO rankings of your website because Google likes sites that are faster. So improving your SEO more generally is a really good way to go green online. Customers are definitely looking for you, so be sure that you can be easily found by your target audience. And this will, of course, make you more sales and find you more clients. And then the last one that a lot of people overlook is to switch to green web hosting. As I mentioned, a lot of hosting is very, very resource intensive. So it's really important to switch out for sustainable web hosting. So this is hosting that uses green energy, such as wind power or solar power to power that hosting. So for example, you can use systems like DreamHost or Green Geeks. For bonus points on this one, try and find a server that is based in your country because that will be more sustainable as the data doesn't have to be transferred as far. Which brings me to pillar 6 of your sustainable Maid service, which is offsetting your footprint. So what does that mean? What is your carbon footprint? So your carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide and methane, that are generated by our actions. So everything we do has a footprint associated with it. Some actions are larger, like flying. Some actions are much smaller, like eating a bowl of oats. And so your carbon footprint is a calculation of all of these totals, and it shows how much carbon your lifestyle or your business uses. But the good news is that you can offset your footprint. So the first thing that you always want to do is try and reduce, wherever possible, any of these ways of reducing trash, reducing your footprint online, being greener in clients' homes. Things like that will really reduce your business's carbon footprint. And so the next thing that you want to do is you want to calculate your carbon footprint. By calculating your business's carbon footprint, you're able to figure out what to do with it next. And the next step, of course, would be to offset whatever you cannot reduce. So that would generally be done by a combination of tree planting and carbon offsetting. And that's all great, but what exactly does that mean? So tree planting, that's pretty self-explanatory. This is using partner organizations that plant trees in various locations across the globe. And it's a really important thing for climate change and for the ecosystems that they're being planted in. Carbon offsetting is a slightly more complicated concept, but it basically means that you contribute to green energy projects across the globe. These projects are actively removing carbon, and they're doing that now. So you might be contributing to a solar farm or a wind project, for example. And what that does is that's actively making sure that carbon is not being created in those areas right now. And so generally the best approach is to go with a bit of a best of both. Trees are a really good long-term play, but you do need to bear in mind that they take between 10 and 20 years, depending on the species, to mature and to reach their full carbon sucking impact. So the best thing to do, bearing that in mind, is to do some tree planting, which is great as a long-term play, and also to do some carbon offsetting, which removes carbon right now. And that's where we come in. So Get Offset allows you to fight climate change really, really easily in just 3 steps. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is choose a plan. On our system, you can choose the best plan that suits your maid service. That can be really small. We generally count by employee. So the smaller your business, the less you'll need to pay to cover your offsetting. All of our plans include both trees and carbon offsetting for short-term and long-term impacts. And so from there, you can track your impact. So Get Offset allows you to view and share your impact from your dashboard and from reporting emails. So you can see what impact you're having and also share that with your audience. And number 3, which is arguably the best bit, is that you can get back to building your business. We'll take care of all of the impact so you can get back to what you're doing best, which is building your maid service. And just to quickly recap, so we have the 6 pillars of your sustainable maid service. Pillar 1, reduce and recycle. Pillar 2, consider your suppliers. Pillar 3, going green in every client's home. Pillar 4, get the team on board. 5, go green online. And last but not least, offset your footprint. So if you want to learn more about how Get Offset can help you to offset your business carbon footprint, visit www.getoffset.io. So thanks so much for coming to this talk. Do feel free to contact me if you have any questions at all. My email address is fran@getoffset.io, or you can contact me through the website at getoffset.io.